This lesson is on converting units that are squared or cubic. We've been working with just one-dimensional units, and now we're going to work with things such as meters squared or meters cubed. So if we look at this, and we can kind of think about this as things that we know that a length is just going to be one-dimensional, which is going to be a meter. When we have an area, we have a meter by a meter. And if we know area is equal to length times width, and if we plug this in here, we have 1 meter as our length and 1 meter as our height. So when we times 1 times 1, we get 1 squared. But we don't have to write it as that because we know 1 squared is just 1. And the same thing happens to the meters. So meters times meters is meters squared. So my area is 1 meter squared. Volume's the same way. Volume is a capacity. It holds stuff. So we have a meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. And volume is length times width times height. So that's 1 meter times 1 meter times 1 meter, which we know 1 times 1 times 1 is 1 cubed, and meter times meter times meter is meter cubed. So we can write that as 1, and we know that 1 cubed is just going to be 1, so 1 meters cubed is our volume. So when we're converting those units, it's really important for us to consider that squared or cubic unit. An Olympic-sized soccer field has an area of 0.007776 kilometers squared. How many square meters does a soccer field cover? So we're going from kilometers squared to meters squared. So when we know in the end, we want meters squared. And we can start with 0.00776 kilometers squared. We know to get rid of kilometers, it needs to go diagonal. Right now, let's just take care of like the base unit, which is kilometers. And we know we can go kilometers straight to meters. We know that that unit is this right here. That's what we've been, oops, I lie. I'm sorry, that's not. We know that 1 kilometer to 1,000 meters. I was thinking about kilometers to miles, so excuse me. When we look at this, though, we can't cancel those units out because up here we have kilometers squared, and down here we have just kilometers. So we need to square that to be able to cancel it out. But to square it, we can't just square the units. We have to square the whole thing. And whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top to keep it equal. And we also know that we have to have meters squared in the end. Now, be careful. This number right here is already an area. So we're not squaring that number. It's already squared, that number. So we're not going to think about that as squaring that number the way that we're going to down here. So that 2, we know the properties of exponents, so that 2 gets distributed. So it's 1 squared times kilometers squared. And up top, that's, if I have room to write, 1,000 squared and meters squared. So when we put this in our calculator, we have to remember that we have to square these numbers right here. And now our units cross out. Remember, this number is already squared. So when I put this in my calculator, 0.00776 times 1,000 squared divided by 1 squared. And we know 1 squared is just 1, but for practice sakes, we'll use that squared button. And then we're going to hit enter. So we're using the same method that we did before. So to repeat that of how we're putting it in the calculator, it's 0.00776 times 1,000, and the 1,000 is squared. Not the first number, just the 1,000. We're going to hit enter. Then we're going to divide by the bottom, which is 1 squared. And we're going to get 7,760 meters squared is our answer. Let's look at a cubic one. The Mississippi River has an average discharge of 17,000 cubic meters per second. How many cubic kilometers of water does the river discharge in 1 hour? Show your work. So, cubic lengths are a volume. When you think about a meter times a meter times a meter, we get a volume. And we're changing it to cubic kilometers. So we have 17,000 meters cubed per 1 second. Let's get rid of the meters cubed first. We know that meters need to go diagonal, and meters can go straight to kilometers. We know that it's 1,000 meters to 1 kilometer, but we have to cube that. So this is 1 cubic kilometers cubed, and this is 1,000 cubed meters cubed. Now let's get rid of seconds. So 60 seconds to 1 minute, and 60 minutes to 1 hour. And when we put this in our calculator, we're going to get cubic kilometers per hour. So in our calculator, 17,000 times 1, and the cube is the caret symbol, so you're putting it in your calculator like this, times 60 times 60, hit enter, divided by 1,000, and the 1,000, we're going to use that caret again, divided by 1, we know divided by 1 is not going to change anything, and we get 1.0612 kilometers cubed per hour.